Right, guys, it seems like Donny is changing his policy towards Putin and Russia pretty much completely. That is what should have been done from the very start. So during his meeting with Starmer, he commented lots of the things relative to Putin. And also relative to the 50 days ultimatum he gave for Putin for the ceasefire deal with Ukraine. Well, let's listen to his statement here.
5 times, and every time 4 times maybe, but we've had discussions, you and I have had discussions. Yeah. We thought we had that settled numerous times. And then President Putin goes out and starts launching rockets into some city like Kiev.
Like I said it from the very, very beginning, that it is a useless thing to speak with Putin. If you communicate with a Russian dictator, you harm your own personality and the United States itself. It's like someone is bombing. Putin was bombing Ukraine for 3.5 years, by the time 3 years. And Trump decided to communicate with dictator to find out the solution. It's kind of the pathetic, weak move, which is encouraging Putin to attack Ukrainian cities even more. If you check out the data from the Russian attacks on Ukraine, they intensified since those negotiations were started. Putin understood that, okay, I can harm Ukraine really hard, bombing their cities, and they are coming for me for negotiations, so why not just continue, but to reinforce the attacks. So that's the aim of Putin, to terrorize Ukraine. And Donny, plus I think his team, they do not understand that. Well, maybe Rubbia understands, but he failed to put this information into the mind of Donald Trump.
There's a lot of people in a nursing home or whatever. You have bodies lying all over the street.
Yeah, it happens right after they negotiate their calls.
And I say that's not the way to do it. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm very disappointed. I'm disappointed in President Putin. Very disappointed in him. So we're going to have to look, and I'm going to reduce that 50 days that I gave him to a lesser number because I think I already know the answer what's going to happen. 5 times.
So you see, yeah, he already understands the understandable things. And he already knows the reaction of Putin, that Putin will not stop. So Trump decided to reduce 50 days to what? 2 weeks, yeah? So it's a new ultimatum on Putin, which Putin doesn't want to fulfill. But finally, I think Donny reached it not just himself, but the public opinion matters here, because people were asking Donny, okay, you say 2 weeks so many times, you're negotiating with Putin, what for? Like, Putin is not willing to stop. And here, by the way, the policy of Vladimir Zelensky is pretty much good, because Zelensky said, okay, you want 30-day ceasefire, you want ceasefire in the sky, in the ground, and sea, we're gonna follow it, Donny, we follow every of your demands. So Ukraine was actually capable to show to Donny that it is ready for peace. And let's see if Russia is willing to make a peace deal. But Russia is not willing to do it, so Donny finally understood this. So what's about the new deadline? They spoke later on.
I'm going to make a new deadline of about 10 or 12 days from today.
So basically more or less 2 weeks, yeah, Donny? Usual 2 weeks.
No reason in waiting. There's no reason in waiting. It's 50 days. I want to be generous, but we just don't see any progress being made.
The thing here that Donny has the same levers as the previous White House administration. It doesn't matter who is the president of the United States. Putin would never listen to that side. Putin has his own personal ambitious goal in Ukraine. He basically wants to occupy it. And we see that sanctions, they work, but they do not work as predicted before. That's why the only solution is to support Ukrainian military, which I think Donald Trump understands now. That's why he wants to reinforce Ukrainian military with the help of the European partners. Well, it's still kind of the slow process, but the information about the Patriot systems delivered to Ukraine, this information comes from the Washington Post. I hope that it is correct and it is encouraging. The information about more air defense supplies like Hawk air defense systems, the information about artillery shells, Bradley's coming. So this is good thing. And finally, we see positive movement from the White House. Also, I think Donny understands that Americans majority of Americans, they support Ukraine. So if he helps Ukraine, it's kind of the popular move, especially right now that he has Epstein scandal shadowing over him. So he needs to deflect the attention of the public to look like a positive guy for Republicans and pretty much for Democrats if he supports Ukraine. Here, journalists asked about whether he wants to continue his personal conversations with Putin after what he just said, that he is disappointed with Putin. Let's check out what Donny responded.
I don't know. I'm not, I'm not so interested in talking anymore. He talks. We have such nice conversations, such respectful and nice conversations, and then people die the following night with a missile going into a town and hitting. I mean, recently, I guess, the nursing home, but they hit other things. Whatever they hit, people die. So I don't. We'll see what happens.
So Donny understands that it's the total disrespect. Putin brainwashes him and later on does what he wants. Putin's idea is actually to make Donny a bloody Donny, to negotiate with Russia by the time Russia strikes Ukraine. And if there is someday the personal meeting between Putin and Trump, believe me, Putin would launch a huge record attack on Ukraine. Missiles, drones, Kinjal, hypersonic missiles, everything will fly to Ukraine, because that is how KGB Putin mind thinks, or Putin thinks. And we see how Donny really disappointed with Putin. Here is one more cut. Guys, it is kind of important topic for Ukraine, because the future of the war actually depends on Ukrainian military support, and it's important to keep it under Donald Trump's administration. America is the biggest ally, the greatest ally of Ukraine. So with Donny, finally, we are reaching the point that he might support Ukraine. I gave it like a very small chance before, because Donny was following pro-Putin's policy. He was following this policy of Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene blaming remember the meeting in Oval Office, yeah, between Trump and Zelensky. It was a catastrophe. But now we see a change in the policy. It's good news for Ukraine, absolutely. And for this reason, I'm not criticizing Trump on this main channel any longer. One of the reasons, yeah, but still I have the other channel. Because after all, you know my attitude towards Donny. So, yeah, Ukraine lost this precious time, actually, for Donny to understand the real picture. It's kind of frustrating that we all, guys, with you, we understood it from the very beginning, but Donny, no. No, he tried to negotiate, and this is one more cut, let's listen to it.
I never really thought this would happen. I thought we'd be able to negotiate something, and maybe that'll still happen, but it's very late down the process. So I'm disappointed. And, the funny thing is that their economy isn't that big, and it's having a hard time right now, but it's a relatively small economy.
So Donny thought that he could negotiate. Actually, this negotiation policy of Donny fails almost everywhere. Hamas-Israeli deal failed. Russia-Ukraine deal failed. The only thing which is more or less positive for Donny for the last half a year is Israeli-Iran conflict, where he used actually the policy peace through force. He bombed the hell out of the Iranian nuclear facilities, and Iran decided to stop. Okay, we slow down, you bomb us. So that's the point, to propel this strong policy also towards Russia. I'm not saying that it's better to bomb the hell out of Russia with B-2. After all, Russia has nukes already. But supporting Ukraine with everything, it's the crucial step. It's like B-2 bombers flying in Iran. So provide Ukraine with adequate military support, and they'll do the job. I mean, Ukrainians will do the job, kicking Russians' ass really hard, and Putin might think about your ultimatum or negotiations if he sees that he's not reaching his goal. But now he's sure that he's reaching it, because Russian army, it is scrolling little by little. Putin has those reports from the Russian military command, and he thinks that he is winning. So we need to create the circumstances for Putin to harm his economy, to harm his army really hard, for Putin to understand that there is no perspective. Like, I'm stuck, I need to negotiate. Yeah, that's how it should work.
It used to be a strong economy, now it's not. He's going through a lot. Economically, it's not easy, but it's pretty small. you know, compared to that magnificent size of that land, the land is massive. It's got, I guess, 9 time zones or something. It's a massive piece of land.
Yeah, as McCain said, Russia is just a big fuel station or gas station. They're really huge, they're really big, but they do not produce their own additional cost products. Very rarely they produce those. They mostly sell their fossil fuels. That is how they live. It's like a drug dealer, cartel country, but instead of drugs, they sell oil.
Russia could be so rich. It could be so rich. It could be thriving like practically no other country. And they're holding that back because we can't. He wants to do trade deals with us. He talks about it all the time. He wanted to. And I envision that a lot of trade with Russia. They have a lot of valuable things. When you talk about rare earth, they have.
United States, they do not trade a lot with Russia. Like their trade partnership is very small compared to Russia's trade as it was before with European Union or now as it is with India and China. So Russia trades with those countries. So it's absolutely bullshit that if they'll make the deal between United States and Russia, the Russian economy and the United States economy would just skyrocket. No, it's just one more illusion of Donald Trump. And the fact that Russia is the richest country in the world is the fact. Like potentially Russia could be really the great country. But because they have this KGB corrupt dictator regime as Putin, and they're not willing to change, Russians themselves. This is the fact, and that's why they will continue to be so miserable with the potential they really have. It's like Venezuela, it's like Iran itself. So with dictatorship, with autocracy, there is no future.
Serious rare earth, right? They have just about every form you can have. So Russia could be so rich right now. Instead, they spend all their money on war. They spend everything on war and killing people, and it doesn't make sense to me. I thought he would want to end this thing quickly. I really felt it was going to end, but every time I think it's going to end, he kills people.
Trump is just tremendously disappointed. We can even feel it from him. I haven't seen him so disappointed for a very long time, for whatever reason. About Epstein case, he parries it kind of fast, Yeah, you still speak about Epstein, la la la. He's not disappointed really about the case. He's concerned, but not disappointed. Here he's like worried down. Like I tried to negotiate with Putin, and this bastard continued to strike cities. I think Melania also helped here. I think it's not the rumor. I think it really happened because Donny said about it himself. And he comes home. Melania tells, "You speak with Putin, and Putin hits Kiev." Like just yesterday, there was one more strike on Ukraine. Massive attack, and one of the drones went even to the NATO country, Lithuania. So yeah, actually I see a positive change, and the new ultimatum, it is good that Donny reduced those 50 days down to 2 weeks. So we'll see how it goes, and what should we expect after it? Well, maybe new sanctions applied on Russia with extra tariffs on companies, organizations, or maybe even countries who continue to cooperate with Russia, purchasing the Russian fossil fuels. And guys, those news are great. We shouldn't underestimate those, because this is how the Russian stock market reacts. It plunged down after what Donald Trump said during his meeting with Starmer. So the Russian markets also understand that it's going to be a long war, and it's not going to be very well for Russia in general, in perspective. And guys, before there was the opinion on Putin that he's so talented chess player, that he knows every step of his opponent, that he's very, very smart. But he managed to lose the support of the White House administration. Donny was really into it. He was actually almost openly helping Russia. Not almost, but openly helping Russia. He was blaming Ukraine. He was blaming Zelensky. He said, no support for Ukraine. We're going to negotiate. And actually, Putin had the chance for the ceasefire to get control over those regions of Ukraine, freeze the war till the end of Donald Trump's term, maybe, or maybe a little shorter, to reform his army and maybe later on to start the attack once again. But Putin is not smart after all. So he continued the open confrontation against Ukraine, not willing to stop at all. And you know, we already have the response from Russia, I guess from whom personally? Dmitry Medvedev. We shouldn't underestimate actually alcoholic Medvedev, because he says openly what Putin thinks. Putin cannot say some stuff himself. That's why Dmitry Medvedev is like this barking dog of Putin, who really barks intentions of Russian dictator. So Trump's playing the ultimatum gave with Russia 50 days or 10 days. He should remember two things. Russia isn't Israel or even Iran. Each new ultimatum is a threat and step towards war. Not between Russia and Ukraine, but with his own country. Don't go down the Sleepy Joe road, says Dmitry Medvedev. So again, we see here that Russia threatens with a war, so step towards the war, not between Russia and Ukraine, but with United States, so Trump's country. Russia continued to threaten Donald Trump. Dmitry Medvedev before said about the possible nuclear weapons delivery to Iran, where Donald Trump actually created a huge post blaming Dmitry Medvedev and Russia for the possible wrongdoing, and they don't know what they're doing because it might escalate to Russia as well. Well, Dmitry doesn't want to stop here with the threats. It's not the first, it's not the last threat from Dmitry Medvedev. It is his style, which is dictated by Vladimir Putin personally. I'm 100% sure about it. And Russia, well, they're not willing to stop. They will continue to escalate the war in Ukraine. It might continue actually for many, many years. And not a long time ago, Davydov, a friend of Donald Trump, and also his personal envoy, he mentioned that the idea to finish the war between Ukraine and Russia within the term of Donald Trump. So before they said about 24 hours, next 100 days, 1 year, and now they say basically 4 years of the presidency of Donald Trump. So we see that because of the Russians' actions, first of all, this war is going to be very, very long. But in general, guys, I see positive actions. The change is clear, it is visible, and Russia digs itself even lower, threatening United States. Like, for example, Dmitry Medvedev, also Lavrov say that Russia is fighting against all of the NATO countries in Ukraine. It has never been like that. Russia doesn't have any sort of the allies, but in fact, Russia has allies, especially North Korea, which supplied lots of the artillery shells to Russia, but they hesitate to mention North Korea there. So they are against West. They have this mindset and they will follow it. They're also against Ukraine. They want to slave Ukraine back to Russia, and they want to kill Ukrainian identity completely. They will name Ukrainians Russians and will use Ukrainians in their next wars. Russia is the empire. They need wars to expand. That is how they survive. If Russia will not do it, if Russian chauvinists will not be satisfied with new territories, new wars, Russia would just collapse, and actually it's the destiny of Russia. Finally, freaking finally, Donny starts to understand that stuff. And yeah, guys, today I'm gonna make one more video about the circumstances for Russia, about the Aeroflot collapse. There will be a separate video about Ukrainian frontline updates. We have absolutely great news coming from Zaporizhia direction. And yeah, the general news update. So I plan to record many of the videos today. And thank you so much for watching me on this channel. And by the way, you may support me on Patreon, because that is how you push me to film more and more, and I'm really encouraged to do it for you, my friends. And now, please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot, and I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.